Welcome back to the Clara CFO Group channel. This video is going to be talking about using QuickBooks Online for just a regular old month, a regular month of bookkeeping. How do we do the bookkeeping for 1 month? And that is what this video is going to be. I did a video called How to Use QBO in 2022, and it got a lot of attention, but it also got a little bit of I got a little bit of flack, I guess, for not having the video be a true how-to. It was kind of more of a what is QBO, because it was kicking off a series with lots of other videos showing you how to do stuff. So I was like, you know what? That's actually really good feedback. I appreciate that. And I like when you guys comment and say like, hey, this is not what I thought it was going to be. You know, I never like clickbait. And so what I want to do is really give you guys tools to really use it in your business. And especially if you've gotten QuickBooks Online because you used one of my discount links, you know, I want to support you in being able to be successful with the tool. So what this video is going to be, we're going to take a month's worth of data in an account and we're going to upload it. And I'm going to show you guys how to like what you need to be thinking about in order to sort of complete the financials for 1 month. So what we're going to do is we're going to have this QuickBooks file that we're going to look at, and then we will import a month's worth of data. If you were able to have your bank directly connected, that's always ideal. But because I'm doing this sort of fake, I can't actually connect to a real fake bank account. So I'm going to import a file, and we're going to go through the process of classifying transactions and then reconciling a bank account, and then going and looking at the financials from there. And so I'll point out some tips along the way, but this should be pretty comprehensive to what you need to do on a monthly basis. So any questions that you guys have, please make sure to put them in the comment section below. This is a really basic example. You can do a lot of things with QuickBooks Online. I've done a lot of other videos showing you a couple other things. And then we also have some other resources we can direct you to. So if you're looking to do something more complex in QuickBooks Online, check out the description box below and we'll send you to a couple other resources. Or if you're looking to do something very specific, put it in the comment section, okay? And we'll try to help you out. All right, well, let's go ahead and get into really how to use QuickBooks Online on a month-to-month basis with the example of 1 month in particular. Here we go. Okay, so let's go ahead and get started on 1 month of bookkeeping. And before we get started, make sure that you are in the accountant view, because that's the view that we are going to be using here that looks like this. So if yours does not look like this, especially this left sidebar, you can go over here to the gear icon and go to switch. So let me show you what yours would look like first. So if yours looks like this and you want to look more like what I have to be able to follow along better, let's go up to the gear icon and go to switch to accountant view. Okay, then we're going to be in a view that this is how I like to look at things, and will also help as you follow along with these videos. So you're going to go into the banking section. And if you're getting started for the first time, what you're going to want to do is connect your bank accounts. So you'll actually go in here and connect any bank accounts or credit cards that you have, and you will link directly to your bank. So let's say you want to go ahead and connect a bank account. You can search for banks here. So if you have a very specific bank, you can look for that. But here's some of the top banks. Let's just say you have a Wells Fargo account. You'll click through here, click continue, and then you will actually log in directly. Now this does have a secure connection, so you can be comfortable with that, and this gives QuickBooks read-only access to pull your transactions directly into the system. It does not give QuickBooks any ability to push any information to your bank. Okay, so it's just recording transactions. It's basically like giving QuickBooks access to a bank statement, that type of thing. So for the purposes of this video, we are going to pretend like we've uploaded and we've connected the banks. But what we're going to do instead, and this is also an opportunity for me to show you how to do this, if for some reason your bank does not connect, or maybe you're having connectivity issues, or maybe you have a pretty obscure bank where it does not have a connection to QuickBooks Online. Now, I haven't really run into that with any of my clients, but if for some reason you need to upload transactions, and I'm going to upload them so that you will see kind of the manual version if you ever need to do that. And I'm going to give you one example, and then I'm going to fast forward and do the rest of them really quick. So remember, you can always bring in your transactions automatically. Highly recommended. It's recommended by QuickBooks. It's recommended by me. This is the best way to pull your information into QuickBooks. Now, the backup is doing it manually. So we're going to go ahead and select one of the accounts that I have here. So I'm going to go ahead and pull in some data that I've prepared for this video, and we're going to click continue. And then what you're going to do is you're going to decide so these transactions that you're uploading, which account do they need to be associated with? And I'm going to go ahead and associate them with the checking account that I have. And I went ahead and set up this account. And then this is where you tell it some information so that it knows how to read the data. And I've got the file over here opened up so I can answer questions about it. And I'm going to show you guys this file real quick, because this will show you the input data, and then you can answer the questions better. Okay, so it's going to say, first of all, does it have a row header? And it's yes. The answer is yes. And then it's going to ask how many columns show the amount. So sometimes you'll have a positive and a negative, or a debit and a credit. And in this situation, we have the positive and the negative all in one column instead of debits and credits. So we're going to select yes, it has a first row header, and then yes, it's in one column. And then it's going to ask the date file format, or the date format. So we have month, date, year separated here. And then we're going to tell it what fields does it need to pull in. So we're going to go back and look at our file real quick. So we have the date column is going to be assigned to date, and then we have the description. So this is what QuickBooks has in its fields, and this is what we want to pull in from our file, because I had 5 columns in this file, and so we need to associate it to the right thing. So for example, I actually don't want it to pull description. I'd rather it pull vendor here. So I'm going to change this to vendor as the description, because if you look at what's actually labeled as description, it's just saying deposit or withdrawal. I actually don't want that information. I want it to pull this, which gives me the vendor information, because that's going to be the information that will tell me what this transaction was related to. Okay, and then we're also going to pull in the amount. All right, so we're just going to go ahead and click continue. And this is a place that you can review your information. So if something looks like it's not pulling in correctly, you can make sure that you pull that out, and maybe you need to enter in something manually, but everything looks great here. I'm going to select all these transactions to import, and then you'll click yes. Great. So this is what it's going to look like now that you have imported those transactions. This is also what it will look like if you have pulled and connected your bank directly. Now, one thing you'll see here is that my bank is not connected because it's showing my bank has a 0 balance. And this means that it's not reading a live balance of what my bank is saying. So this tells me that it's not connected. And if I wanted to go ahead and connect it, you always can. But right now, it's not a live connection between the bank and QuickBooks since I uploaded these transactions. Okay, so give me a couple seconds. I'm going to go ahead and connect the other 2 accounts that you'll see here, and then we'll get into our 1 month of bookkeeping. Okay, so here we are in the bank feed section. So you'll get to this section by going to banking, and then you should be right here. Once you have these connected or you have some transactions uploaded, it will show it will show a different card for each bank or each account that you've connected. And remember, you want to connect any bank account, and you also want to connect any credit card so that you have a separate card here, and all the transactions should be included. We don't want to leave anything out, okay? So let's go ahead. Now, one thing that it's pushing me to do right now is it's pushing me to confirm a paired credit card statement. So QuickBooks has identified that there is a payment to a credit card. So I'm going to go ahead I'm actually just going to close this out. It's like, yes, I'm happy that you did that, but right now we're not looking at that. We're just going to go through one by one and identify these transactions. So you can change the date range. So if you want to go oldest to newest, or if you want to go newest to oldest, it's up to you. And what we're going to do is we're just going to walk through. Like, now is a process where maybe your bookkeeper is sitting down, or maybe you are sitting down to do your books for the first time, and you're trying to figure out, what steps do I need to complete in order to, quote unquote, have my bookkeeping done. And this is what I'm going to show you. So the first thing is you need to make sure that all of the transactions from the month have been properly included in your account. So we're going to look at the month of August. So what I'm looking at here is that I've got the full month of August transactions. So I have my first transaction happen on the 2nd in the checking account, and then it's going all the way to the 31st. I also have all the August transactions from my credit cards here, and then also on my American Express. Okay, so what I am going to do from this point is we're going to categorize each one of these items individually, and we're going to tell QuickBooks where to put it, because we need to, just because it's here doesn't mean it's all the way into our accounting system yet. This is kind of just a holding tank until we can categorize it and put it into the right category, and then you add it. You have to take an action over here in order to get it officially into your books. Okay, and I'll show you here. So this is because I doctored up these files before I had them uploaded. I just made this generic and called it a payroll provider. Okay, so we're going to just go ahead and add quote unquote payroll provider as a vendor, and we're going to go ahead and categorize this. So we are going to add this vendor. This is a quick add, so we can quickly add a vendor. I always recommend adding a vendor name. And then we're going to click save, and then we're going to go ahead and find a payroll account. So we're going to put this, I'm just going to make this really generic right now and just call it payroll expenses. Most payroll providers have a way that you can link up and get like a journal entry or something directly into QuickBooks Online. So I would highly recommend that. So that it properly separates out payroll taxes from wages. But since we're not doing that for the purposes of this video, we're just going to go ahead and categorize it to payroll. And everything looks good, and we're going to go ahead and click add. Okay, so here we are with an American Express payment. So I can tell it's American Express from the description, and then also from the detail here. So it says ACH payment to Amex. It's an e-payment. So we're going to go ahead and create that vendor. We're going to save that. And then this is where we actually go to, we can go record as a credit card payment. We can also record as a transfer, but let's go ahead and do record as a credit card payment. And then we're going to go ahead and select the credit card that we want it to pay, which is the American Express, and we're going to click add. All right, and now here's another transaction that is this is merchant services. So these are the fees that are being charged for this consulting company whenever they're receiving client payments. So what we can expect coming into the bank account is client payments coming in because this consulting company has their clients on retainer. And all this is just made up, you guys. I'm just using some real data that I've doctored into a couple different things just to give you a really great example of a real life scenario. But this client receives money from a separate invoicing system, and when it comes in, they also get charged some merchant service fees. So we're just going to call this payment system as a quote-unquote vendor name, and then we are going to call this merchant service fees. Okay, so that's merchant account fees. Typically, I like to keep those in cost of goods sold, as some of you may know, but we're going to leave that there. Now, here's something that it's the same thing. This time money is received. So it's coming in, and this is coming from our payment system. So I just created that vendor. So we're going to find it again. And this time, this is coming from sales of services. I'm going to see if they have any other. I could create a new account at this point, but right now we're just going to put it towards sales. And I have a whole separate video on chart of accounts customization. So if you want to look at that, you can. But this is sales. We're going to go put that to sales. But you know what? This happens a lot in this account. So what I'm going to do is save myself a little bit of time and go ahead and create a rule. So I'm going to say every time, so I'm going to label this incoming consulting payments. And then anytime money is coming into the checking account, I am going to say if the description contains this service client payments and it's a deposit, I'm going to categorize it to sales and put the payee as payment systems. So it read all of this based on the rule, like what I had already entered in on that transaction. Let's go ahead and keep the existing bank memo. And we're not going to auto add it right now because I want you guys to see the rules and whether or not it's working. But if you want to auto add, you can. And then this is save. Okay, so it's already identified that rule that I just created. It's identified a couple of these payments for me. And then so all I have to do is review them at that point. And if I think they look good, I can just click add really quick. All right. So this person also, or this consulting company also sells some products, and those come in through Stripe, which is the payment processor. So we're going to go ahead and click Stripe, or create the vendor name of Stripe. And we're going to also just put this to sales for now. Now, if it's a product sales versus a service, actually, I can't even do that. Oh, here we go. Sales of product income. We're going to put it into a separate line item. I was like, I just can't, I can't have consulting and sales in the same line item. So we need to have those in separate items. And knowing that this is something that happens regularly, we're going to also go ahead and create a rule again. And we're going to have Stripe payments. You can name these whatever you want. And then I like all of these rules here, or everything looks great. We're going to click save. And look how many of our transactions have now been categorized as a rule. You guys, this is what makes QuickBooks Online so efficient. And this, when you have recurring transactions over and over and over again in your business, these rules can save you boatloads of time, okay? So we're going to go ahead and just add some of these that we see were just created by our rules. Okay, now we have an expense here by a vendor called Websites R Us. Websites R Us. I'm going to go ahead and create the vendor. Now, if this was a vendor that was a 1099, I would stop here because this would be somebody that I need to track as a 1099 because it's somebody who's done services for me. I would stop right here and fill in as much of this information as I can. So make sure my spelling is right. And then I would go down here to track payments for 1099s. If you have the business ID, you can go ahead and put it in there, but this will help keep track of things that you need to identify for 1099s at the end of the year. So if you have paid a vendor, take the extra second to just click the details and click that checkbox. Even if you do nothing else, you can gather all the information later. I highly recommend getting a W-9 at the very beginning of working with somebody, but if you don't, you at least have this tracked so you can keep an eye on vendor payments, okay? And then we're going to click add to that. If this is great. If I accidentally did something and I didn't put it into the right category, I can go here and I can click undo, and then I can go back here and then make sure that I put this in the right category. So let's see if they have a website. So they don't have a website account for us. Maybe do they have a marketing? We're going to go ahead and put this in advertising and marketing. I'm breaking some of my rules here, but this is all just to make sure that this is done kind of quickly. I would normally have a separate line item for website charges. I don't like putting things in the top account if there are sub accounts underneath it, but that's personal preference. I would probably have a separate website account actually. Okay. And so here is a payroll tax. Okay, so this is coming from that payroll provider. And then this is a payroll. It's actually payroll taxes. And then here we go with some more of these rules. So we just go one by one and we say, what is this? What is this? What is this? What is this? And we put it in the right category. So it's very, very straightforward. So here we're going to add these things that are already have rules applied. We're reviewing them. And then here's an interesting one. So this is a payroll provider charge, but it's for a flat fee. And I actually know that this is a contractor payment. Now, if I had my payroll provider linked, then I would have that contractor payment pulled over and it would be very clear. But because I don't have that, I'm going to go ahead and, knowing what this charge is, I'm going to put contract labor for the payroll provider. But what I might even do is actually put a contractor name in here. So let's just call it Jessica Jones. And we will also, knowing that she's a contractor, we're going to go ahead and track that for 1099s. And we're going to click add. Okay. Now we are going to just add everything that is abiding by the rules. And then here's the payroll provider. So QuickBooks will do this when it recognizes that you put something with the same description. It will be smart enough to do the same thing that you did last time. But this is actually my payroll run. I don't want to do that. So what I have to do instead is change it back to payroll provider. And you can set up rules to, identify this kind of stuff. But again, if you're connecting your payroll provider, that's the best way to go with QuickBooks Online. And then we will make this payroll. Okay. See, look, it's even going to prompt you. It says, hey, do you want to make sure that this is all the same? And I'm going to skip that for now, but it's nice that it kind of reminds you. All right, and here's a Stripe transfer. We're going to go ahead and click add, and then here is a credit card payment. So we're going to double check this. It's identifying as a credit card payment. It's seeing, okay, that this is paying the Bank of America card. That looks good. That looks good. All right, there you go. And then we're going to keep on adding things and reviewing things that are identified with the rules. That all looks good. Looks good. Looks good. All right, here's a legal payment. This is a company called Legal Shield. And we're going to save that. And then we're going to see if this has like legal and professional services, which it does. We're going to go ahead and click add. Now on any of these transactions, you can always attach a receipt. You can attach it right here and, you can go and search for your receipts. Now, you can do it this way. There's also some software that can connect directly with QuickBooks, and you can push receipts directly into the system. So that's like Dext is a software and HubDoc is a software. So that is an option. But, if it's something that you like, especially like meals, I like to make sure that a receipt is attached and then, or that you can find a receipt for every transaction. Because remember, if you get audited by the IRS, you need to have support for every single thing that you spend money on or you receive money on. So you need to have invoices or you need to have receipts. Okay. So that's just kind of a quick reminder, but that's how you can, at any point in time, if you need to attach something, you can attach it there. We're going to go ahead and continue on here. Here's another payroll. This is a payroll expense. And then payroll provider, this is actually money that came in. So that's a little confusing. Maybe it was a refund. I would want to make sure I know exactly what this is for. Maybe it was something like, maybe you referred business for your payroll provider and your payroll provider actually gave you a commission or something. Let's say that that's what this is. If that's what it is, I would call this, maybe we call this other income for the purposes of, let's call it other income. All right. So kind of weird. Usually we're paying payroll providers. So seeing it coming in as an incoming, you want to think about, well, why would I be paid by this person? And usually it might be a refund, but in this situation, since it was a flat fee, it reminded me, oh yeah, we sent the name of somebody a business contact to our payroll provider, and that person started using the services. So we got a commission. Okay. That's called an affiliate commission. And, that's always great when that money comes in. All right, here's some more product sales. We're going to add that. And then what is this? Okay, this is something called Bank NYC. This was actually interest expense on a loan. Okay, so, and I'm using this as an example of something that might come in, and we're going to add Bank NYC as a vendor, and this would absolutely be something that we could create a rule for, knowing that it's something that might happen again. We're going to add that, and then we've got more rules to apply. And this, you guys, this is where I just find QuickBooks to be so much more efficient. And I've used other accounting systems before, but when you can identify rules in your business, it can create so much efficiency overall. Since most of these are rules, I think you guys get the point at this point. I'm going to go ahead and classify the rest. All right, so let's get into the credit cards. And the way that this business is structured is that the bank account is really mostly just for receiving money and then paying out like the credit card bills. Most of the detailed, software subscriptions and miscellaneous charges and expenses are not going to be out of the bank account. They're going to be on the credit card. And, having this, be my mythological client, I highly recommend this. So this is where the checking account is very, very basic. With incoming money and then outgoing larger bills and payroll. And then all of the smaller transactions are on credit cards to earn those points. And then the credit cards are paid off every single month where you don't incur any interest. So the transactions that we have here, so these are a couple things that you're going to see on a regular basis. So these are kind of more the operating expenses of the business. So for example, this is Take Command Health for our HRA. And we're going to go ahead and save that as a vendor. And this is a payroll. It's actually a payroll expense, or, we could probably even call it that. So we're going to call that a payroll expense and go ahead and click add. And I'm not being too picky on the categories. Again, you guys, here's an example of one of those softwares that records receipts. So we can put that in here. This is a software. Social media scheduling software. We're just going to pretend that that's the name of the company, is Social Media Scheduling. And you want to put a vendor name in there because it runs reports better when you have a vendor name. So it is good to keep that. And we've categorized that as software. We're going to go ahead and click add. ConvertKit is an email marketing system. This is also a software. Le co-working space. We're going to call this rent. Rent. Amazon. So we know that this was, let's say we had a receipt in this situation that this was a new monitor, for example. So let's go ahead and this would be something I would definitely want to either, get Amazon for Business actually synced up with QuickBooks Online, which I have a separate video for that, or make sure that you attach a receipt. We're going to go office, long-term office equipment. I don't want to put this as a fixed asset because it's not over the threshold. So I like to call this just like office equipment. ClickUp is a software. So we're going to add that. And you don't have to add a new vendor every time. It's just, this is a scratch QuickBooks account that I have never, fully set up before. So I'm having to add these vendors this first time. But once that's done, these vendors are really easy to pop up. So once you start typing a couple letters, you'll be able to choose from a drop-down menu. So this is a FedEx charge. Let's add FedEx as a vendor. And then this should be like shipping and postage. And then here's kind of a more expensive consulting software. So we're going to call this analytics software. as the vendor name, and then it is showing up as software. I mean, you know, QuickBooks tries to do a good job with recognizing the information coming in and suggesting a category, but it's not always right, so don't rely on them. Always do a review and then set up your rules. Okay, here's another FedEx one, and it recognized that FedEx. Did you see that? So it read FedEx, and then it suggested the vendor name this time based on that last time that I had done it. Oh, and here's a Consulting World Conference. So this is a, you can make the vendor, maybe it's put on by Consulting World, and this is, let's see, we would actually maybe call this business development. So it doesn't look like they have something like that. Maybe they have an education, continuing education. I will put it in continuing education for now. I'd probably, it's kind of depending on the purposes of a conference. Is it more to go and get more business, or is it really just training? If it's just training and education, then you can put it into education. Remember, like the biggest thing about bookkeeping is looking at every single transaction and saying to yourself, what is this transaction for? And putting it into the right category. So Green Design was a graphic design company. We're going to go ahead and add this as a vendor, but also make sure we're tracking them for 1099 payments since they're a vendor. And we're going to, let's say that that was for actually graphic design for ads. Let's go ahead and add that. And then here's a Chamber of Commerce. So Chamber of Commerce for your city. And we're going to actually go here and say that this is dues because, oh wow, there's no dues and subscriptions. Oh, memberships and subscriptions. They changed it. It used to be called dues and subscriptions. All right, so memberships and subscriptions, save. All right, so now we've added everything from the checking account, everything from the Bank of America. Let's go to the Amex. You'll also notice that I just pulled in the information from this past statement, so I just didn't go all the way back to August 1st, and that is just a choice that I made to prep for this video. Okay, so let's go ahead for Dropbox. This is a software. Adobe is a software. Comcast needs to be added. And this is internet. Professional organizations. This is a dues, memberships and dues. I'm just going to call it Prof Org. And this is memberships. Add. Uber Eats. So this is actually a situation where the business owner accidentally charged Uber Eats onto a business card, and it was for a personal meal. So we're going to go ahead and still add this as a vendor name. But what we're going to do here instead is put this as a draw, because we don't want this to show up on our P&L as a business expense. So what we do in that situation, if there's a personal expense on a business card, we book it to an owner's draw and we click add. And I think I saw one more charge down here. This Uber Eats one down here is actually the exact same situation. So we're going to go ahead and click that. It's not always going to be a owner's draw, so we're going to not create a rule for that. Here's another membership. This is a monthly membership. And so you would always put the name of the actual vendor. I just wasn't creative enough to come up with fake names for all these vendors. I'm going to put this as a membership. Actually, it's really, maybe it's more continuing education. You know, sometimes you're going to have to make a decision. Well, is it more like this or is it more like that? Here's some meals. This is for travel. Oops, actually, I'm going to do restaurant. I don't add every single name of a restaurant ever. Sometimes I just put restaurant generic, and then you can attach the actual receipt here. But if you feel the name to add every name of a restaurant, that's fine. I just don't like to bloat the number of customers that are in the system. And then I will put this to travel meals. Same thing, travel meals. I'm not going to save that right now. And here's a payment. So this is recorded as a transfer, automatic payment. So we're actually in September transactions right now. So I don't really need to do this part, but I'm going to because we're going to reconcile all of these transactions as well. So let's go ahead and go in here. This is going to be a paid from the checking account. And then we're going to add Microsoft as a vendor. Which is these next two as well. Yeah, let's go ahead and create a rule for Microsoft. I like that. T-Mobile is phone. Make sure that you look at the drop down and say, because if you look at that phone, it gave you two options. And this is in your chart of accounts. It gave long-term assets, which is a phone category, or the actual expense category under utilities. And that's what I wanted to choose. So you can go in if you want to deactivate anything that's throwing you off. If you accidentally select the wrong thing over and over again and you know you never will have that other account, you can deactivate the account that's messing you up. Okay, and then here's a CRM, big annual purchase of a CRM, and we're just going to call this CRM. And then let's say this is a design software. Okay, so now that you have all your transactions in, you can do a couple things. The first thing I would do before you even reconcile is go to reports and then do a quick profit and loss review. So you would actually look at the last month. Since this is being recorded in September, we can go to last month to just show us August. And I would just look through and see, like, does this look reasonable? Is there anything that looks out of whack? Is there anything that's uncategorized that we need to look at? Is there anything that we need to investigate? Maybe we've put into the wrong account. You know, does this make sense? Is this the sales that we were kind of anticipating? And you can just do a detailed review, or maybe like this is suspicious to me. Contract labor of negative $1,700. This is where I would go, that $3,500 that I put in there, that might not be the right thing. So I need to go and see why there was a deposit of $3,500 because I'm not entirely sure. So you need to investigate that, okay? So let's say I investigated it and I know that it wasn't actually for a payroll provider like that, and it actually was a commission payment. Let's just say you made a really big referral and you got a really big commission payment. Actually, we put commission payments into other income. So if that's the case, you would save and close and just fix it. Okay. You know, again, I'm working with some hypothetical situations here, so I'm just trying to make it work with some real data. Okay, so in that situation, the other income has now moved down here, and we are looking at everything that has come through. So we are looking at payroll expenses being extremely high for the income that came in. So that would be something that I would be double checking. Does that make sense? We're at a net loss for the month. I'm not loving that. But this is not a financial review. This is just a review of trying to get everything in here. But we're looking for reasonableness. You want to do that. And you can also look at the balance sheet and look for reasonableness. Make sure it makes sense. Looking at checking accounts, nothing really wacky has been hit. Like if you accidentally put something to a asset account when you shouldn't have, this is where you can look at that, and you can change the date range up here. The next thing I would do is we want to go ahead and reconcile our bank accounts, and that really closes out the month to make sure that we are doing everything, really kind of putting a bow on all of the accounts. And this helps us make sure that we are actually including everything that the bank shows, okay? So if we go to the bank register, you can go up here and click Reconcile. And on the other screen over here, I'm going to be looking at a bank statement. And I'm going to hide that from you because it's an actual bank statement. But remember, I'm kind of using this from doctored data. So what we're going to do, since I set up this information from scratch and then I put in a beginning balance into the system, I'm going to go ahead and put the ending balance of my statement. So this is the statement ending 8/31 of 2022. We're going to make the ending balance and we're going to make sure that the ending date is 8/31. Okay. Now, you'll see the system will automatically basically want to highlight everything that we've added, all of those transactions that we told the system where to go to. It has added them. Let me get rid of these. It's added everything there, which is great. But you can see this big fat difference right there. Well, the difference is that there was a beginning balance that we didn't have, that I didn't show you guys because I had to manually put in a beginning balance before I started this video. So now once I select that beginning balance, which if you have been doing your bookkeeping consistently, you would already have a beginning balance, so that would be naturally assumed, and then you would just be adding the new activities. Now the system recognizes, hey, everything matches, and also it's all been pulled in and matched to something that came directly from an upload in the bank. So you'll see here, like this little sign means that these have been added from the bank feeds, these green little check boxes. And if it doesn't have that, it means it was more of a direct transaction that was added into the system. So I actually typed it in myself with this opening balance, knowing that I would need that in order to reconcile. Okay, so we're going to go ahead and click Finish Now. And that's it. You reconcile the account, you're done. Reconciliations in QuickBooks Online are super duper easy. Now you also want to reconcile your credit cards. So let's do that real quick. Okay, so here we are in the Bank of America credit card, and I'm just going to show you an example of how to reconcile one credit card and just assume that the other credit card is the same as well. What you'll notice with credit card statements is that they usually end in off cycles. Bank statements always end at the end of the month, but credit cards will sometimes end in the middle of the month. So be sure to be really careful about your date range. So in this situation, I'm looking at a statement that ends on August 15th, and the ending balance is 3605.84. And then we're going to go ahead and start reconciling. And so the same thing happened here, where it's automatically checking everything that we've added from the bank feeds, but there's this opening balance that will put us in balance, okay? Because, you have a balance, and then you have activity during the month, and then you have a new balance, okay? So with that, once we do, and we've checked everything, and there's no pending transactions, we're going to go ahead and finish now, okay? And then we're going to do the same thing with the Amex card, but I'm not going to show that to you guys because it's basically the same process. But you want to reconcile all bank accounts and all credit cards every single month, okay? So that has you at a 1 month of bookkeeping, and now you can look at your profit and loss, look at your balance sheet one more time, make sure you're happy with it, make sure your date range is correct. Always make sure you are looking at this from the correct date range. So we want to look at last month and we're going to run it on a cash basis. Most of us will be on a cash basis. Do a review, go in and edit anything if you need to, and then you can use your financial statements. Or if you're a bookkeeper, you can send it to your client at this point in time. All right. Well, thank you guys so much. Please let me know if you have any questions in the comment section below. All right, you guys, well, I hope that was really helpful, and please give me any questions you have in the comment section below. I am happy to answer those, and if you haven't already grabbed your copy of QuickBooks Online, make sure to use the discount that we have, because it gives you a full year of discount rather than the 3 months you can get from the QuickBooks website directly. So we've got a special deal with Intuit. Make sure you check that out. All right, thanks so much. Bye, everybody.